One of the first things I noticed when I used this saw was that it feels kind of funny when you pull the cord. It has good compression. That's normal. But it also has this weird springy, mushy feeling. And I wondered what's the deal with that. There's an additional spring in here that decouples the cord spool from the flywheel pawls, the things that engage the flywheel when you pull the cord. I suppose it serves two purposes. One is to make the saw easier to start, and the other is to provide a little buffer so that when you turn the saw off, when it kicks back a little bit, it absorbs some of that force on the pull cord. I noticed some people online running their saw, and they'll hold the cord up out of the recoil mechanism, hit the kill switch to take up that shock with their hand. That's probably a good practice just to keep everything working well inside there. But this seems to have a feature to take care of itself. Most saws, you pull, the cord moves until you get to the top of the piston stroke. You get to the top dead center where you have maximum compression. Then the cord gets hard to pull, and when you get over that hump, it gets easy again. So you get a thump, 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 thump as you pull the cord. This thing has an extra spring in here, so as you get to top dead center, it stores up that energy and applies it on the downstroke to give that flywheel a little more speed. So I'll just demonstrate here. You can almost start it without pulling very fast. Okay, here I am zoomed out a little bit more so that you can see better. You see what I mean? It gets to the top dead center, and then it sort of jerks over, releases that spring into the flywheel. It does jerk, but it provides a little cushion in there. Alright, so this is too much for me. I've got to pull this thing apart and see what's going on here. Let's pull this cover off. Let's pull this recoil assembly off of here. See what we've got. It's just 4 torque screws, T27s, I believe. That's what I'm using here. Isn't T27 such a weird size? Why in the world didn't they do 25? That's what all the other screws and everything are, like wood screw, deck screws and things. And you can hardly find a T27 at the store, I've noticed. Alright. Pull this off. You know, it looks a lot like a regular recoil assembly. However, alright, you can see the back end of this recoil assembly, and you can see that it has a little bit of, you know, the pull handle is still here. This pull handle, by the way, is a Briggs & Stratton. I had it laying around the shop, so don't tell anybody this is a lawnmower pull handle. But anyway, this little baby, see, it's got a little spring in here, so even if you turn it like this, it pops back. And the same, you know, same if you hold it here, you can see the cord. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll try to get in closer. I'm holding the center and pulling the cord, and when I do it, they're moving independently. So there's a spring that's wrapping up, and then it's pushing harder and harder on my finger as I pull the cord, and then it gives way. Anyway, they work together to start the saw, and they work to cushion the blow when you kill the saw. So I like the feature. You know, I could probably take it or leave it in many ways, and maybe that's why they went away from that feature. But I think it's kind of clever. I think it's a cool idea. Let's take this little cover off. It's kind of plasticky, I'll have to say. Not my favorite clutch cover, but it's light anyway. I've never had any trouble out of it. But like I say, it's plastic with a small little metal insert. You can see the metal inserts in here. I've got this on a round table. Okay, you can still see. All right, we'll take this off. Got a bit of goop under there. I'll clean this up a little. All right. Here is what I wanted to show on this saw. It has a kind of a recessed clutch drum, and the thing, when I got it, had a spur gear for the chain. Now I bought a separate kit that has a different clutch drum with splines on it so that you can put the rim sprocket. The thing that's nice about a rim sprocket is that the chain is driven nice and smoothly, and you've got lateral float to accommodate whatever bar you put on it, so that there's no binding whatsoever. I believe every pro saw should have this feature, so that you can take this little circlip off, take the rim sprocket off, replace it, put it back with a new one. That way you don't have to replace the entire clutch drum, because they don't wear out quite as fast as the sprocket typically. That's a little upgrade you can do to these saws that I think is well worth it. So the bottom line is, if you come across one of these saws, grab it up. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It has a lot of capabilities. Some people have ported these things and gotten more power out of them. Like I showed you, the rim sprocket can be retrofitted. It has the neat starting feature. You saw earlier, I actually started the saw by accident. It has a lot to offer. It's kind of, you know, it has a primer bulb. I personally don't like primer bulbs, but it seems every saw made now has one, so you got to live with it. Thanks for watching. If you need socks, check out Camel City Mill Socks. I've got videos up about that with promo codes to save money on nice American-made socks. Hey there. Today I have another old saw to discuss. This is an old Dolmar, and the history of Dolmar is long. There were some really old Sachs Dolmar, S-A-C-H-Dolmar saws. They're really durable and legendary back in the day. This is one that says Dolmar, but the saw looks a lot like a Makita, right? Well, in the 90s, Dolmar sold out to Makita, or Makita bought Dolmar and produced saws with the same plastic, the same everything, but some of them they colored blue. Today my little project here is to remove some of this invasive honeysuckle, Asian bush honeysuckle. It's the scourge of the world as far as I'm concerned. And I have a dead ash tree, a small, really small dead ash tree, laying beautifully up at chest level. So I can use a small chainsaw with a short bar and cut up a couple pieces. We'll take them to the house and heat the house with it. See ya. Makita left the orange color on some of their saws. Some of them, they turned the plastic to that kind of goofy blue, Makita blue, and they put their own name, Makita, here, replaced it with the Dolmar, replaced the Dolmar with Makita. I got this saw from a guy who got it from a pawn shop, and I've had it for years. And what I like about it, you can see one thing, it balances directly on the top bar. I like that balance. It's fairly light. It has spring anti-vibration and starts pretty easily, runs pretty well. It's good for small brush clearing and small trees. All right, well, this little thing strikes again. I have a lot of fun with it. It's only a 42cc saw, so that's pretty good for a small saw. It's pretty light, easy to handle. Actually has a plastic handle, makes it a little bit lighter. I prefer metal, but that's what it has. You know, we haul it out here. It's a little easier to handle, the small saw. Sometimes we don't need the bigger ones. Just having fun.